What does love look like though?
Okay.
Love looks like love. Like you know what love looks like. I mean,
I don't know, cause some of y'all be moving like y'all in love and y'all don't be in love. That's
Let
why
me
old
see.
girl was in a
Let me
relationship for 3 years and didn't realize he was getting married.
But you see
let,
what
let me see.
he said, we
Let
don't emotionally vomit our feeling due to society and also trauma. But that's my thing. You don't
let
Right.
express it. So my thing is, as a woman, how would
How
a
would you
woman
recognize it?
identify when you're being emotionally vulnerable if it's not going to, if through our lens we look at it through, I guess what he said, emotionally vomit. If we're looking for those things, then we're always going to miss when you're being vulnerable if you're not expressing it in that way.
let me let let me try this. Let me try this because I'll say it this way: it's when we entrust you with something personal. For example, and it may not even be something personal, but it's something when we vent, not about you, but about work. That that is and that is us being vulnerable to you. That is us letting you in to what's going on with us. We because we're not we typically don't sit in an emotional state for a long time. Just typically we don't. But if something is weighing on us, um, for example, um, me being vulnerable to you guys was when I told you guys that I didn't get the promotion, and I kind of went into a little bit of detail about that.
Mhm.
And not once did any of you come back and let's say use that against me somehow, which then I can come back and give you more information. Because what happens is if I give you a little, if men in general give you a little bit a snippet, you're not going to get the full picture. You're only going to get a snippet. And what do you do with that information? Will dictate what more we feel like we can give you.
Mhm.
That's that's the way we'll show that type of vulnerability. Like we're not going to be like we're gonna. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna use your example, an example of a situation that you've said on live before, right? About um, when your husband didn't really show his emotion. For
Mhm.
him, it was his vulnerability was him telling you he's being strong for you guys. Let you get that out.
Mhm.
So what you do with that information will determine how he moves forward in comparable situations, and I think that's the way we express our vulnerabilities to women.
Mhm. Okay.
yeah, I think that that's a great point about not weaponizing personal information or when you express something to you. I yeah, that yeah, that's important. Like I think that's how you maintain and build trust with people when they can tell you something and you know like they don't have a desire to weaponize it or they would not weaponize it against you.
And I'll also say Inaz gave me some great information, some great insight, and it has actually helped me build something that I know is coming down the pipe. If it's for me, God will make sure it's for me. But it has uncovered some things for me. And
Mhm.
again, there's never been a personal jab about it ever. And even in our group chat, there's never been a jab about it. So that, as you can see now, I'm giving more information. And my mind, I'm like, F the chat. So no matter what they say, the information I'm giving is to you guys. You know what I'm saying? And that's the opinion, and that's the opinion that matters to me, and that's me being vulnerable. Just using a personal example and hoping that gives you a little bit of insight into your answer that you're kind of looking for.
Yeah, but I would like Marcus to explain a little more about what he meant about love being is vulnerable.
You dug that hole, brother.
Let me pull up the definition so I can make sure you understand why I said love is vulnerable. Because I
That's
think you're not the only one who disagree with me. All right, so the definition for vulnerable is, all right, susceptible to physical or emotional attack or harm. Based off of that, love fits that criteria because you open yourself up to be susceptible to emotional harm. Also, if you trust somebody into your personal space, they have the ability to backdoor you, which is physical harm. So you're not on guard as you would be with people that you do not feel, or you not allow yourself to be well, because the opposite of it. So it says similar words would be in danger, in peril, in jeopardy, at risk, and then opposite would be well protected, invulnerable, resilient, and immune too. So I think that fits that criteria perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, because for me, because now that you explained it, I kind of agree, because there's a certain way that you're gonna move totally different, I think, when you're in love with a person, in terms of, like you said, opening up yourself, and you do put yourself in a place of vulnerability, because then that is a level of a lack of, like you said, guard. Like, I think about now, and I would pray that this would never happen, that if my husband and I had ever divorced for some reason, that there's literally nothing about my life that he does not know, like in terms of being 100% transparent with him about things that I have never told anyone else. He knows. And when I think about that level of trust that I had to share with him, but then also thinking about, dang, if we ever broke up and he wanted to share some of that, like, that would F me up. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, like, feeling vulnerable in that regard, that at that point, like, there were no guards, there were no protections, there was no nothing. It was just like, I'm gonna just share everything with you. That's kind of scary when I think about that. Like, not that I think he would ever do, because his personality, I think even if we broke up on bad terms, that he's not that type of person. From what he's shown me all of these years, that he's just not that type of person to do that. But then again, there's this little piece that be like, you never know. You know what I'm saying? Because when hurt people are hurt, they hurt people. You know what I'm saying? So, and vice versa. There's things that I know that he shared with me that he has not shared with anybody else. So I think being vulnerable, you feel safer when you know the other person is also being vulnerable with you. If it's just one-sided, I don't know. I think I would feel some kind of way about that.
Yeah, I don't think it's one sided though. I think we presented it coming from both sides in the way, like the things you know about him makes it not one
love,
sided.
but sometimes these child and stuff.
So like the women, like the men and women who have a desire to try and get even with you, right? I could understand it if there are parameters behind it, but there are people who, like, say something happened, right, and they interpret it. This is why, like, emotionally unstable people or people that are chaotic, I try and, like, distance myself within a relationship from these type of women, because I can't dictate from one day to the next how your emotions is gonna fly. So if you perceive something going away and I was vulnerable with you in any way, then you now have convinced yourself via some weird thing that's going on in your mind to now attack me with it. I'm not, yeah.